everybody, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 9 of History's Greatest Idiots, the podcast where we go back through all of human history and find examples of crazy, insane, just utter brilliant human stupidity so that you can take lessons from other people's mistakes and never repeat them again. But who are we kidding? We're humans, and mistakes are part of our DNA, apparently, especially this guy. This guy is just a walking mistake machine, and we'll get into that in a minute. But joining me as ever is my amazing, wonderful co-host and dear friend, Derek. Derek, how are you doing, my man?
Doing awesome, man.
Nice.
I've been having a really good time.
Excellent.
Since the last we spoke last weekend. For those that are patrons.
Yes. Also, hello, Toasterzoid. Welcome to the live stream. Coincidental episode. I'm playing a detective game, but I'm the one who broke into someone's apartment to prove they're a murderer. That's not a great way of proving someone's a murderer, by committing a crime to do it, because it doesn't always work out how it does in the films. You know, where they're like, well, we'll just forget that you broke in because this guy's a murderer and we've arrested him. No, you get arrested as well, and the murderer also gets arrested, but you know, it can also cause you quite a lot of hassle. But that's what's the game? Tell us the game. If it's on Steam, I take a pot at that when I get paid. Anyway, it sounds really fun. But I'll watch the stream while I wait for them to leave or sleep. Wow, you're playing a game, right, buddy? Shadows of a Doubt. I think I've heard of that. Maybe I've seen another.
I hope he's playing a game. Goodness,
I really hope he's playing a game and not like a game. But yeah, no, this is going to be an interesting one. This is an episode about a burglary, but before we get to that, I just want to talk about our wonderful patrons who Derek briefly touched on there. Jesse Christ, Kimberly Johnson, Andrew Zavara, Dilly Bob, Silent Crisis, Carrion, Suzanne, and of course the wonderful Toasterzoid who is joining us live. Thank you all so very much for being wonderful, supportive, financial backing patrons. And if you would like to support us financially on this podcast and be in line to receive a welcome gift and an annual gift and behind the scenes footage from our lives and historical places we visit and scripts from the actual podcast and exclusive monthly recordings where we go on for like 90 minutes at a time about random stuff, go to patreon.com/history's greatest idiots, where you'll get access to all of that and a community conversation where you can ask us questions should you need to. We may or may not answer. That's not a given. So yeah,
we'll answer. We may or may not.
Yeah, we may or may not comment, but we'll certainly answer. Yeah. So you'll get some sort of answer out of us. It may not be the truth. Also, if you want to follow us on Instagram, go to at History's Greatest Idiots, where our memes are so dank that they're doing bank. Oh my god! I have skills to pay the bills, my friend. Yes, thank you, Beastie Boys.
Throwing bars over here.
Yeah, I am.
Oh wait,
I am spitting dem bars. This Welshman might be the greatest Welsh rapper of all time, based on just those 2 bars alone. Yeah. Also, just a quick random thing: my camera is on the fritz, so I may drop out. I apologize in advance if that happens, but we'll see what we can do. So yeah, you've had an interesting couple of weeks, haven't you? A bunch of stuff going on with you over there.
Yeah. My oldest offspring is back in the same state now.
Awesome. Okay.
Made good. The drive back, all on their lonesome with their cat, their pregnant cat.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. I haven't met the cat yet.
Okay.
They're staying at their grandma's.
Cool.
So it's
good.
It's good. It's a good time.
Excellent. And no issues with the car this time. Sorry.
No, a mechanic went through the work that I did poorly on it and fixed that. So
that's good of the mechanic. The only house I've broken into is Derek's. Toasterzoid. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Derek's armed, so I'm joking. He's not armed.
I got 2 of them.
He's got 2 of them fighting fists. Yeah. Don't break into my house. The dog will eat you.
I only sleep well when you watch me.
From the bushes. So yeah, you got a bunch of stuff going on. I've usual story with me. trying to avoid illness. I have to go back for more blood tests before I can get on new meds. So I'm like hanging in there with like the improvised medication I'm having to give myself to make it through. But I've started on this new Mediterranean diet, which I was talking to you about, and eating like 5 much smaller portions a day of really healthy stuff. And it has made a huge difference to my general well-being and quality of life, because I'm not as sick as I was, and also I have more energy. And also I want to say I've lost weight because I'm on this new diet. No, it's all the shitting and vomiting, but
yeah, but the food looks delicious now that you can eat it.
oh yeah, it's so good because my body was like craving like actual food for so long, but because I get so sick, I can't really eat anything for like 24 hours at a time sometimes. So I end up just having like iced water and maybe an apple if I'm lucky. But then like eventually I get better and I can have all this wonderful food carefully. And it means the world to me right now. Also, we had a bit of a disaster this morning. My original monitor died. It's my fault for buying a no-name. I think it was called Gaffork, some shit like that. This brand,
Gandalf.
Yeah,
but a wizard monitor.
Yeah, a fucking Tolkien character. So I bought this thing in the Black Friday sales last year for like I stupidly was like, oh, £100. Wow, yeah, I'll get that. And then like 3 months after its warranty dies, it dies. So I was jokingly saying to my wife, I was like, I'm really quite lucky that it didn't just burst into flames the day after its warranty expired, because it died instantly. I was getting ghosting and lines, and it just went. So really, really bad experience. So I managed to, God bless Click and Collect. And we had some spare money from vouchers from the family, so I used that to buy this monitor that I'm now looking at. Just went and collected it today while Wolves were playing at home. Rushed back home, plugged it in, and it's working a treat. So thank you, Samsung.
That's super cool.
That is. I love Click and Collect. It's the best thing. Your house would smell too much of crumpets, phlegm, and old whiskey. I don't drink, but the first two are entirely accurate. Toastozoid, that's exactly accurate of what my house smells like. Also dog. But yeah. Also dog. So there's been a bunch of cool stuff happening, and cool stuff on the horizon as well. But today.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Sorry. A bunch of stuff happening on the horizon. I've got a product launch that I'm hoping to do in the next week or so. I need to do some marketing, and I've been waiting until I felt better to do that stuff. And also I have client work to do, and it's like that pays me now, so I want to get that out of the way, so I've been doing that. And I also got a new job, sort of, which pays me £50 an hour, but Ooh. I only do like 2 to 4 hours a week, but it's still good money. So I've been focusing on that, but I've got a product to launch, and I need to get the marketing right. And I also need to have a conversation with a couple of people, because I'm like, a couple of things I maybe want to tweak, but I need to pick their brains before I do that. But anyway, it's ready to go, and it could be a really cool thing, but bunch of stuff happening. But also I was stumbling across bunch of ideas for this episode, but I wanted to cover someone a little bit less recent, kind of last century, which 20th century, and I was like, want something a bit more political based, and I want something with a bit of meat on the bone, where we don't have to scramble around for details that's maybe conjecture.
It's always nice.
Yeah, and this guy has a very well documented life for the most part, mostly because of the one massive incident that he was involved with that has led to him being chronicled and examined and torn apart for basically his entire life. So I'd like to talk to you today about the story of G. Gordon Liddy, the worst burglar in human history. Derek already knows where this is going. So let me tell you the story about G. Gordon Liddy, the man, the mastermind, although neither a master nor a mind, behind the Watergate scandal.
Very nice.
George Gordon Battle Liddy is his full name. Battle Liddy. George Gordon Battle Liddy was born in Brooklyn on November the 30th, 1930. His father, Sylvester James Liddy, was a lawyer, and his mother, Maria Abacchio, was just a homemaker, I think, because his dad was a very successful litigator. So he did a lot of good work. And we're getting the pictures early. I can't wait. I can't wait for these. I just want to point out
he was born with this.
Here. I just want to point out George Liddy, for all of his faults, and there are many, he had the best fucking mustache of pretty much any human being you will ever see in history. And I also want to point out, kind of across, he looks a bit like an older Magnum PI, but also, if you've ever watched MMA or wrestling, there is, oh God, I've forgotten his name now. There's an American MMA fighter. I can't remember his name. Jesus Christ, he looks like Charles Bronson. Fuck me. Yeah. There's an American MMA fighter who looks very much like him, and it's like a 1-for-1. I can't remember his name. I want to say Dan, but I don't know if that's right. Kind of an early pioneer in the late 90s, early 2000s. He had a legendary fight with a guy called Yoshihiro Takayama, where the first 2 minutes of the fight, they just literally grabbed each other by the neck and punched each other in the face continuously until they beat the shit out of each other. So he looks like G. Gordon Liddy. They're basically brothers, although he's less of a dick than G. Gordon Liddy. So George Liddy. His family was of Irish and Italian descent, as you can tell by the names I just read out, Liddy and Abiticcio. There we go. I got that right. And Liddy had a strict Catholic upbringing, as you could imagine from an Irish-Italian family. He was named after George Gordon Battle, a noted attorney, which obviously has probably inspired his father, but also a Tammany Hall leader, which, from the general New York area. Not sure if naming your son after a famous leader from one of the most notoriously corrupt political institutions of the last 200 years is such a great idea, but, you do you, Sly.
It definitely led to the mustache.
It fucking did. You bet your ass it did. He was raised in Hoboken and West Caldwell, New Jersey. He attended St. Benedict's Preparatory School, his father's alma mater in Newark, and went to college at Fordham University, graduating in 1952 at the tender age of 22. So I don't know if that's... Maybe he took a year out. I don't know. Is that 4 years? Is that right?
It was a drinking year.
It was a drinking year. Yeah. There you go. While at Fordham, he was a member of the National Society of Pershing Rifles. So, not sure.
Like he just was a shooter?
I guess so, yeah. I guess it's like a club that they'll have had, on campus. After graduating from Fordham in 1952, by then listing himself as G. Gordon Liddy, that's when he took the name, he joined the army during the Korean War because, as a family friend asserted, he felt he had to stop the communists in Korea. So that's his driving force, not patriotism, protect America. No, he needed to stop the communists in Korea. This wasn't about protecting America. This was about killing commies.
Gotta stop the commies in Korea.
Yeah, fucking
before they do whatever
universal health care.
It was where they weren't just killing people for thought crimes and stuff at that point in time, were they? When was this? You said he was stopping the commies in Korea?
52. There was a bunch of shit happening in Korea at that time. It was pretty extreme. Okay. However, what they were fighting against was almost just as extreme, to be honest.
What was his plan? He's just joining the army?
Just kill him. Just kill them all. Yeah. Fuck him to death.
Stop their killing with killing.
Yes, I'm going to stop your terror by murdering you. Fucking goddamn commies with your unions and your universal healthcare and Canadian flags. However, Liddy suffered a major disappointment. He was set on becoming a paratrooper, but was disqualified when he suffered a massive fucking appendix attack. Appendectomy was required.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to go to the front line and kill me some commies. Wait, why the fuck is my stomach exploding? He later became a first lieutenant in the artillery and was honorably discharged and entered Fordham Law School back afterwards. He never left stateside. So he was here in the US the entire Korean War.
Okay.
So
you stop a lot of communism in Korea over here stateside?
Yeah, he did. just standing in front of the ocean going "Rrr!" like that, just waving his fists in the general direction of Korea. So
this has got to be a picture of him stopping communism here stateside.
If it's the picture I'm thinking of, oh yeah, look at him. It's stopping. I want you to remember this picture, actually. This is a very important picture, and I'm going to let you guess now. Fictional character from comics. Who does he look like? It's going to be difficult if you're not.
Gosh, I'm not a big comic fan. I was thinking he looks like that Mad Dog from the A-Team.
He does a little bit,
or
for sure.
Maybe I got the wrong one.
You mean who's the leader? J. Jonah Jameson. Good guess. By
there he is.
There
he is. Stopping the commies.
Jesus Christ. That suit is also going to come back to haunt him.
Oh boy.
But yeah, wow, there's a spiffing tie as well. Sorry?
Why has he got an Uzi?
Because he's here to stop communism? I don't know. But anyway.
Cocaine.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah. So he, Alan Moore, when he was designing characters for Watchmen, took G. Gordon Liddy's image, especially the one with the cigar just there and the gun probably, and turned him into the comedian in The Watchmen.
Oh.
So if you've seen the film with the comedian, who is obviously a very pivotal character in it, although he dies right at the start of the film and in the comic, his entire visual makeup is based almost exclusively on G. Gordon Liddy because of how he looks and how he fucking behaves most of the time. This guy's gung-ho as balls.
No. This guy?
That guy is gung-ho as fuck. Also, he did a bunch of B movies later on after the shit went down. So we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, that's the comedian right there from the Watchmen comics, is the way he behaved and the way he looked. That's what Alan Moore was replicating in Watchmen. So
okay.
Kind of amazing. So he's back in law school. His fucking army career fell out. Basically, he went back to law school because he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and become an attorney. The fucking appendixless daddy's boy. In 1957, now using the name George Gordon Liddy, he's gone back. He received his law degree, married the former Francis Purcell of Poughkeepsie, New York, and joined the FBI. So did not become a lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different direction. Purcell of Purcell Tires or the hand sanitizer?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think either of them. I think they were like kind of middle class. I don't think she's like an heiress or anything. He's just there's a lot of Purcells, I guess. So it would be fun if it was, though, if she was like, I'm the heiress to the hand sanitizer fortune, that's amazing. He spent most of his 5 years as an agent in Indiana, of all places. No, that was a big FBI hotspot, but there you go. Did you fight in Korea, son? Well, I wanted to, Mr. Hoover, but my body went and exploded on me. I couldn't go. You're in. Go to Indiana. Because he was working under Hoover at the time. While stationed in Denver, he made a significant arrest on September the 10th, 1960. Ernest Tate, a notable criminal who had twice appeared on the 10 most wanted list. Tate, and you will find a picture of this guy. He's not a scary looking man. Tate was wanted for fleeing after being charged with burglary, ironic, when he tried breaking into an Indiana bottling company's safe. Clearly a really dangerous man here. Tried breaking into the safe, failed, and then went on the run.
As an FBI agent,
yeah,
his big arrest was a dude
who couldn't break into a safe.
To break into a safe at a bottling company.
Yes, but it was a big break because it was a big arrest because that guy somehow ended up on the 10 most wanted list. Must have been a quiet year for crime. What was in the safe?
What were they bottling?
Hoover's
was it genies?
Pictures. Illicit pictures of J. Edgar. Yeah, that's what it is. The old
Hoover's safe.
Yeah, J. Edna's pictures right there. At age 29, Liddy became the youngest bureau supervisor at FBI headquarters in Washington now, under the mentorship of Deputy Director Carther DeLoach. Liddy secured a position on J. Edgar Hoover's personal staff. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply anything there. Even acting as Hoover's ghostwriter, nothing sexual happened. We're not implying anything like that. You hear us, Kash Patel, you litigious lunatic. We're not denigrating the FBI. Despite his achievements, Liddy was also known for his reckless behavior among his fellow agents, highlighted by two particular incidents. The first incident took place in Kansas City. During a covert operation. He did something really stupid. No details here. It's been redacted, but he was arrested for it and was subsequently released after contacting Clarence Kelly, former FBI agent and then chief of the Kansas City Police. So he called someone who knew a guy and got himself off. Couldn't find any information on why he was arrested, but let's say it was maybe for being the most uncharismatic human being ever produced. This guy is so fucking boring when he talks. He makes Henry Kissinger look and sound like Prince. That's how fucking uncharismatic he is. Just
all right.
Yeah.
He's got the Riz.
Yeah, he has unriz. He has the opposite of Riz. Yeah. He makes Henry Kissinger's over here, raspberry beret. Just like he's got all the charisma in the room in that situation. The second incident that he got into trouble for and that earned him a reputation as a reckless man involved an FBI background check that Liddy conducted on his future wife before they got married in 1957. Liddy later claimed that this action was a routine precautionary measure. So he's basically... Was it, though? Go on.
I mean, like... Of course, you got to Google the lady you're dating. And when you're the FBI guy from Indiana, you want to do a complete, thorough background check, including DNA tests and hair swabs and stuff, or whatever they do.
Is she descended from the Purcell hand sanitizer fortune? No, maybe that's what he was looking for. He was like, is she from money? Ah, fuck. Well, she gives good head. She'll do. But that's all he did. He Googled her on a first date, like everyone does. Only he just happened to have the most powerful top secret database in the world at his fingertips. So
yeah,
just
same thing.
Just making sure. Prior to his departure from the FBI in 1962, Liddy saw admission to various bars leveraging his professional contact. That's legal bars, not drinking establishments. Let me in. I'm in the FBI. I need to get drunk. So this is a Hooters. You can just come in. His application for admission to the United States Supreme Court was supported by Solicitor General Archibald Cox. Archie Cox there supporting. Yeah, big. This guy has friends in high places already, and soon to be low places as well. Liddy resigned from the FBI in 1962 and worked under his father as a patent attorney in New York until 1966. He was then hired by District Attorney Raymond Barata as a prosecutor in ex-urban Dutchess County, New York, after providing references from the FBI. That'll do it. I'll get you basically any job on the planet, I'd imagine. In 1966, he led a drug raid on the Hitchcock estate.
Alfred?
Yeah. I don't remember importing any heroin, but it might have happened. I don't know. So the Hitchcock estate was occupied by Timothy Leary at the time.
Oh.
There you go.
I guess that makes sense.
It really does.
You were just talking about that.
We were, yes. And this is in Millbrook, New York. Unfortunately, it led to an unsuccessful trial. Good job, Mr. Former lawman / current lawyer. You really fucked the poach on that one, didn't you? Jesus. Although the case generated a lot of publicity, other lawyers complained that Liddy received credit for something in which he played a relatively small role. He sounds a bit like your old Arizona sheriff there,
Mr. Joe
Arpaio. Yeah, just fucking, it's all the credit to me. I'm going to ride in on this tank and look like a hero and then fuck everything up and no one's going to get prosecuted. So just kind of basically what happened with Liddy. Well done. He was also reprimanded for firing a revolver at the ceiling in a courtroom.
Desk pop.
As you do.
Yeah.
You know, which, I mean, despite this being America, it's still kind of a no-no. Really.
He's a lawyer when he did that?
Yeah. In a courtroom.
No. What?
How did he not get disbarred for that shit? He did a Dwight. Speaking of arrests, I got the murderer arrested. Hooray! Well done, Tosazoid. For anyone who's just joined us, that is in a game he's playing, a video game, not real life. This isn't him live messaging us about him doing detective work in real life. This is a game he's playing, which I'm probably going to download after this podcast.
Shadows of Doubt is called.
Shadow of Doubt. Yeah, Shadows of Doubt. Yeah, you're right. That sounds really fun, actually. Yeah. In 1969, a drug raid directed by Liddy at Bard College scooped up, amongst others, Donald Fagen and Walter Becker, who later formed the band Steely Dan and wrote the song My Old School about the raid. Liddy is referred to in the lyrics as Daddy G. So that's not the last time anyone called him Daddy. If you've seen that fucking epic mustache, the real life stuff is for Patreon. Yes, it is. That's the real life arresting of murderers. That's a Patreon exclusive stuff. During that period, Liddy ran unsuccessfully for the post of district attorney, and in 1968 he continued to seek office by running in the Republican Party's primary election for New York's 28th congressional district. It didn't work, but he did employ the slogan, Gordon Liddy doesn't bail them out, he puts them in, which, gotta be honest, that sounds kind of like something you'd hear in a porno.
Little bit.
It's very sexual.
It's an opening line to the C Block movie. Never mind.
I don't bail them out, I put it in. He lost to Hamilton Fish IV in a close race.
God, they had weird names back in the day, didn't they?
Crazy ass names. I don't think we've seen a single. This guy's called Battle. We haven't seen a single normal name yet.
Battle and Fish.
Battle Fish. There's your fucking headline. Tosoid, was this pre or post Reagan? This is pre-Reagan presidency, but probably during Reagan's. Was he a governor of California at this point? No, because that would have been. Was he a governor of California or was it a different state?
When was this? Reagan? He was a governor of California, yes.
Yeah. This is 68. So this is Nixon era now.
Okay. That's pre-Reagan California.
Yeah, because obviously Nixon was the California guy for quite a while, right? For like a couple of decades, I think. In the 50s onwards. Was he? Anyway, yes. But
Reagan was California governor in 66.
Right. So this is Reagan era California governor about 15 years before he becomes president.
Okay.
So all right. 81. Yeah. Before he loses his fucking marbles and his wife takes over. So, yeah, this is Nixon era, as we will find out in a minute. The general election against Fish and the Democratic candidate Millbrook businessman John S. Dyson. I've missed a bit there. Sorry. Liddy then accepted, the nomination of the Conservative Party of New York State and ran in the general election against Fish and the Democratic candidate Millbrook businessman John S. Dyson. Fearing that Liddy might tip the election to Dyson, Fish turned to the district's Republican leader, State Assemblyman Kenneth Wilson, to get Liddy kicked out of the race.
Okay.
Politics. Yeah. Wilson's office dispatched the matter to the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee in Washington, resulting in Liddy being offered a potential Richard Nixon administration political appointment at the U.S. Department of the Treasury. This prompted him to officially suspend his campaign. So he got politicked out of that one, but it's a pretty cool job that he's got lined up there, although it's only potential. But dangle that carrot, he will chase it, because this is a guy who shoots courtroom ceilings. So
right,
he ain't smart, is what I'm saying. Even though he's a lawman,
he's
kind of dumb.
Smart enough to have wandered his way through law school and survived Indiana FBI-ness. And
true.
He's got a boss-ass mustache.
He has a fucking sexy ass mustache. There's no doubting that. It is a glorious. It should be visible from space. That's how good this mustache. It might be, actually. Yes,
I'm just jealous because I can't do that. I don't have the chin for just the mustache.
No one can grow a mustache like that, other than him and the UFC fighter, the MMA guy that I mentioned, whose name completely escapes my mind.
I think he looks like Sergeant Slaughter.
A little bit, yeah, a little less chubby. But yeah, when I find that the MMA fighter that it looks like, it's gonna fucking drive me mad. Anyway, Don Frye, there it is, Don Frye, Don Frye, Donfrye, Don Frye. You look at Don Frye next to G. Gordon Liddy, fucking twins. I swear to God, only Don Frye's obviously been on the juice. So and also Don Frye. No, they do have similar voices, because G. Gordon Liddy is dull and he's down here and he talks like but Don Frye sounds exactly the same, and he's a bit more interesting because he's got some war stories, literally. After serving as the county director of Richard Nixon's successful presidential campaign, he began the aforementioned political role as a special assistant for narcotics and gun control at the Treasury Department's Washington, D.C. headquarters in early 1969. Shortly thereafter, he helped to establish the country's contemporary Sky Marshal program under the aegis of the United States Marshal Service. So, G. Gordon Liddy helped establish the Sky Marshals program. Yeah.
Well, that's I learned some new stuff.
You did. And also, something else we've learned today, at least one person out there that probably already knew this, probably thinks that he's behind 9/11. So, you know.
G. Gordon Liddy?
G. Gordon Liddy, because he founded the Sky Marshals. That's probably someone's theory. I guarantee one person's got that theory out there.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
you never know.
Be on Reddit.
Just
it'll be somewhere.
You do know.
Yes,
I mean, you don't know. Not like that. No. Oh, somebody took it wrong.
Oh dear. Now it's an inside job. Beginning in 1970, he served with Gordon Strachan. For British listeners out there, that's not the 5'5" ginger Scottish footballer, not that Gordon Strachan, a different one. And David Young as an aide to Domestic Affairs Advisor John Ehrlichman in the executive office of the president at the behest of Egil Bud Krogh. Still not a single normal name in all of this.
Just goofy names. Hey, I got that Don Frye.
Don Frye, yeah, there you go. That's not G. Gordon Liddy. That's Don Frye, but they are basically the same fucking human being. Look at it. It's terrifying. They got the same fucking hairline and everything. That is
G. Gordon Liddy.
G. Gordon Liddy, Don Frye. One has cauliflower ears, the other one doesn't. That's basically the only difference here in that situation. On Thanksgiving 1971, David Young arrived home from his planning at the new Special Investigative Unit that was set up by the president. When his grandmother asked him, "What do you do at the White House?" he replied, "I'm part of this new thing called the Special Investigative Unit that the president has set up. I'm helping the president stop some leaks." Purposely playing off on information leak versus water leak, she exclaimed, "Oh, you're a plumber." So, yeah.
Yes.
Now, it's a good name. Well done, Grandma. That's a great name. So when Young relayed this story to the team the next morning, one of the group, a certain G. Gordon Liddy, put up a sign on their office with the title "The Plumbers." but it was taken down as, their operation was supposed to be top secret. And you can't go around telling everyone you're a fucking spy, dude. You're not Archer. So still, the name of the group stuck, and they all kind of referred to themselves as the Plumbers from that point on. After serving in several mid-level law enforcement and domestic policy roles in the Nixon administration, Liddy was moved to Nixon's 1972 re-election campaign in 1971 in order to extend the scope and reach of the White House Plumbers Special Investigations Unit, which had been created in response to damaging leaks of information to the press. Liddy, although everyone bought into the name and he liked the Plumbers and stuff, he did initially try and change it. His alternate name for the group was Odessa. And when people asked him why Odessa, do you just like this city? And he was like, no, it's a reference to an escape plan made by the Nazis.
No.
Really love it when people connected with the Republican Party, even 60 years ago, just keep bringing up the fucking Nazis.
But man,
what is it? Yeah,
why?
I know. He could have just said, no, I just really like the city Odessa. I think it's a really nice name. It sounds good. But no, it's like, no, it's a Nazi escape plan. They're like, no, we work for the US government. That's not a good idea. Let's not mention NASA. Liddy concocted several plots in early 1972, collectively known under the title Operation Gemstone. But given how stupid they were, they should have been called Operation Turd Nugget. Some of these were incredibly far-fetched. I mean, he's coming up with the kind of schemes that Ian Fleming did as a kind of a special intelligence spy operative. And they're like, save it for the books, Ian. He's like, I fucking will. And when Elfman wrote James Bond books about these ridiculous things that he'd come up with in the actual intelligence operations, some of these included attempts to embarrass the Democratic Party, specifically kidnapping anti-war protesters, organizers, and transporting them to Mexico during the Republican National Convention, which at the time was planned for San Diego. So that's a bit of a trip.
They kidnapped anti-war protesters and then shipped them to Mexico? It's a good thing we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Mexico? El Salvador's the place. But also, kidnapping, that's going to be in their wheelhouse. And we'll cover that in a little bit as well. As well as he also wanted to lure mid-level Democratic campaign officials to a houseboat in Miami, where they would be secretly photographed in compromising positions with prostitutes. That was his next idea. Yeah. No need to fucking set that up. Just follow them. Like, I guarantee one Democratic mid-level guy has got a yacht full of sex workers somewhere. At least one of them has that.
I mean, there's probably pretty good odds on that.
Yeah. When have you known a politician to turn down, a sex party of any denomination?
Like, yeah, I feel like that's I don't know for sure.
We don't know 100% for sure, but Bill Clinton is a difficult dog to keep on that porch. So
correct. And I think a lot of the stories that you read would indicate that people in those positions end up
on boats.
In those positions.
Yes. The various Kama Sutric positions.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's strange that they were doing the kidnapping and deporting and stuff like as a bad thing quietly before, and people
instead of making
mad
it
at them about it.
Yeah. Like if you just like made a whole campaign about it, people would have been like, oh yeah, let's vote for this guy, G. Gordon Liddy. Most of Liddy's ideas were rejected by Attorney General John N. Mitchell. But a few were given the go-ahead by Nixon administration officials, including the 1971 break-in in Dan Earlsberg's psychiatric's office in Los Angeles. Earlsberg had leaked the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times, so they wanted to break into his doctor's offices to find a bunch of incriminating information. And they were like, Nixon's totally okay with this one small-level burglary. Why don't we knock it up a notch? Bam. Emerald. Just really go for that next level of burglary. Mitchell also approved the burglarizing of the Democratic National Committee's headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C., to photograph campaign documents and install listening devices in the telephones. Liddy has since insisted that he was duped by both presidential counsel John Dean and at least two of his subordinates. But I don't know, dude. You seem kind of gung-ho about this idea and all of the other stupid shit you were coming up with.
It seems in line with the way you operate.
Yeah, I don't think you were like a patsy in this situation. You were like the driving force behind a lot of these really quite stupid ideas. So this team included CIA agents E. Howard Hunt and James McCord, the latter of whom was serving as then CRP security coordinator after John Mitchell resigned as Attorney General to become the CRP chairman. In May, McCord assigned former FBI agent Alfred C. Baldwin III to carry out the wiretapping and monitor the telephone conversations afterwards. On May the 11th, McCord arranged for Baldwin to stay at the Howard Johnson's motel across the street from the Watergate complex. Room 419 was booked in the name of McCord's own company, which maybe create a fake shell company and book him in under that name instead of your own personal company, dude.
Book it under the plumbers.
Yeah. Or a plumbing company.
The Mario Brothers.
Irony. Yes, the Mario Brothers. There you go.
It
predates all of that, so it's totally fine. That would work as well.
Damn.
It's me, John McCord. At the behest of Liddy and Hunt, McCord and his team of burglars prepared for their first Watergate break-in, which began on May the 28th. Two phones inside the DNC headquarters were said to have been successfully wiretapped, and one was Robert Spencer Oliver's telephone. At the time, Oliver was working as the executive director of the Association of State Democratic Chairmen, so he's getting calls all over the place from different people, and that's going to be useful information for the very corrupt Republican Party to use to undermine their campaigns. The other phone belonged to the DNC chairman, Larry O'Brien. The FBI found no evidence that O'Brien's phone was bugged. However, it was determined that an effective listening device was definitely installed in Oliver's phone. While successful with installing the listening devices, the committee agents soon determined that they needed to repair the listening devices. They plotted a second burglary to take care of the situation. They basically needed to break in to fix their fuck-ups with that one. So
they didn't measure twice and cut once.
No, they didn't measure. They just fucking shoved that. They just shoved it all in there and then just put it back on again. And they're like, why is this phone so fucking heavy all of a sudden? Why is it rattling?
Just had a microphone duct taped to the phone.
Yeah. Just like sharpied in the same color as the phone, fucking red all over it and stuff.
Yeah.
They basically needed to break in to fix their fuck-ups, as we've just said. Sometime after midnight on Saturday, the 17th of June, 1972, Watergate complex security guard Frank Wills noticed tape covering the latches on some of the complex's doors leading from the underground parking garage to several offices, which allowed the doors to close but stay unlocked. Obviously, a big security issue there. He removed the tape. He didn't think it was that suspicious. He just thought maybe someone had gone outside for a smoke, and they just put some tape over the door. And he was just like, "Nah, you can't be doing that. I'll just take it off. It's fine. Whatever. They can buzz in or whatever." When he returned a short time later and discovered that someone had retaped the locks, he called the police. So, like, at that point, they should have pivoted, right? They should have realized someone's taking the tape off the door. Let's not do that same thing again. Maybe we have someone down here pretend to smoke. If he comes back, we say, hey, sorry, I need to keep going for smoke breaks. Is it okay if I prop the door open? Maybe you get a little leeway there, but they've just got no imagination. So they just did the same shit again. And it immediately set off alarm bells in this guy's head, and he calls the police.
Right.
So, really weird set of coincidences happen with the dispatching of the police now. They dispatched an unmarked police car with 3 plainclothes officers, which kind of an unusual thing to do but it's a break-in at offices with a lot of big, powerful people. So I guess it's not too unusual. Maybe they thought there was some spying going on, which there was,
Right.
but maybe they thought it was like a foreign agent thing. Anyway, the three plainclothes officers, Sergeant Paul W. Leeper, Officer John B. Barrett, and Officer Carl M. Schoeffler. So Schoeffler, Leeper, and Barrett. What's that?
I said I thought you were going to say Carl Winslow.
I did too. I nearly did. Carl Winslow would have been perfect. But Barrett, Schoeffler, and Leeper, who were working the overnight shift, they were often referred to as the bum squad because they often dressed undercover as hippies and were on the lookout for drug deals and other street crimes. Fucking make that series, Netflix.
The Bum Squad?
The Bum Squad, with these three dudes dressed as hippies, going around busting drugs, drug dealers and stuff like that, being like straight, boring G-type officers. But then all of a sudden they fucking stumble across Watergate and then they become kind of heroes to hippies all of a sudden. The Bum Squad. It's crying out for a series, even if it's comical. You know?
It have to be comical.
Oh, yeah. They're busting through. Maybe they just, we've busted this. We better make sure it's the right stuff. You know, just like, I feel like that would be a good series. Alfred Baldwin on spotter duty over the road in the Howard Johnson's motel was distracted because he was watching the film Attack of the Puppet People on TV. So he wasn't looking out at all. He's just fucking glued to his TV. That must be a good film to distract him from his very top secret government spy job. He did not observe the arrival of the police car in front of the Watergate. I mean, it's just a normal car, so it's not too surprising. Nor did he see the plainclothes officers investigating the DNC's 6th floor suite of 29 officers. That he should have seen, because a bunch of hippies walking around.
Yeah.
But at 3 a.m. in an office, that's a little suspicious. So, that's, I mean, he said he was watching Attack of the Puppet People on TV, but I bet when he checked out at the Howard Johnson's the next morning, very different films listed on the bill. You know, I suspect it was a 5-knuckle environment type thing. So Attack of the Puppet People. Oh yeah, that's
the Puppet People one. Here's their this is what they got going on.
Now I would want to watch that film. Holy shit, that looks like fun. My goodness.
Yeah.
I'd be distracted by that. Yeah. There's a bunch of posters there.
I clicked on the wrong one.
That's okay. Look at that. Oh, look at the telephone. Oh, that careful, folks. That's definitely wiretapped.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
See, they were teaching him how to wiretap the phone the right way.
Unscrew it. Yeah, that's who to blame. He was probably taking lessons from the film. By the time Baldwin finally noticed unusual activity on the 6th floor and radioed the burglars, it was too late. The police apprehended the 5 extremely well-dressed men. They were dressed in like suits, like high-end suits. And again, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. The people that you find in an office at 3 o'clock in the morning are either cleaners or there's someone who's like overworked and underpaid, who's like either getting a jump on the day or still working from the previous day. Those are the kind of people you find on a 29th floor. What was it? The 6th floor office building. They're not hippies and they're not extremely well-dressed men. Both of those things are super suspicious. So,
right.
Yeah. The 5 suspects were Virgilio Gonzalez, Bernard Barker, James McCord, and Eugenio Martinez and Frank Sturgis. They were criminally charged with attempted burglary and attempted interception of telephone and other communications. The Washington Post reported the day after the burglary that the police found lockpicks and door jimmies. Door Jameses. Paul James. James. Door Jameses. Almost $2,300 in cash, which is a lot in 1972. That's a lot. That's like some serious change there. Most of it in $100 bills with the serial numbers in sequence. So not sure if they're trying to plant that or what, but anyway, they also had a shortwave receiver that could pick up police calls, 40 rolls of unexposed film, 2 35mm cameras, and 3 pen-sized tear gas guns. That's
Pen-sized tear gas guns.
That's a fucking spy kit right there, right? That's some James Bond shit,
right?
To be honest with you. Yeah. So no wonder the Washington Post was all over this, although the Post redacted the report and then actually changed the amount of cash to $5,300. So that's a big old wad of cash right there they're carrying around. The following morning, Sunday, June 18th, G. Gordon Liddy called Jeb Magruder in Los Angeles and informed him that the 4 men arrested with McCord were Cuban freedom fighters whom Howard Hunt recruited. Quickly, blame Castro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was his like, oh, they're freedom fighters. Cuba. Yeah, oh, it's Castro. We should try and kill him again. Initially, Nixon's organization and the White House quickly went to work to cover up the crime and any evidence that might have damaged the president and his then re-election campaign. On September the 15th, 1972, a grand jury indicted the 5 office burglars, as well as Hunt and Liddy, because the guys had squealed. And also, there's a trail of fucking evidence leading back to this dickhead for conspiracy. Yes. Conspiracy, burglary, and a violation of federal wiretapping laws. The burglars were tried by a jury with Judge John Sirica officiating and pled guilty. All were convicted on January the 30th, 1973. Within hours of the burglars' actual arrest, the FBI discovered E. Howard Hunt's name in Barker and Martinez's address books, which obviously were in their homes. They raised it and they were like, oh, you're connected. Nixon administration officials were concerned because Hunt and Liddy were part of the White House plumbers who were also in that address book, a name that looks slightly suspicious as well when you're the FBI and you're looking into break-ins and suddenly there's this group called the plumbers who work in the White House and some of them connected to burglars. And yeah, it's very, very... The sticky bandits, the wet bandits, that's who they are.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, plumbers got tools and they're not bakers. Burglars got tools, and it's all relative, right?
Yeah, it connects somehow. So you've got a bunch of plumbers working in the White House. Yeah, we do. Why is one of them a former FBI agent who went to Vietnam? He just took a lucrative career in plumbing.
Less stressful than the FBI.
Yeah,
unclog the pipes.
True, and it's less stressful. His other appendix isn't going to explode from the stress of that. So
right.
Dean later testified that top Nixon aide John Ehrlichman ordered him to deep six the contents of Howard Hunt's White House safe. So they wanted him to break into a safe. Maybe they could have got in touch with the guy that Gordon Liddy arrested and like, listen, just give it a proper fucking go this time. All right. We'll let you go if you can break into this safe properly. I know this isn't a bottling plant, but Jesus. Ehrlichman subsequently denied this. In the end, Dean and L. Patrick Gray, the FBI's acting director in separate operations, destroyed the evidence from Hunt's safe and later admitted to it. So that's a crime, and that's part of the cover-up. Nixon's own reaction to the break-in, at least initially, was one of skepticism. Watergate prosecutor James Neal was sure that Nixon had not known in advance of the break-in. As evidence, he cited a conversation taped on June 23rd between the president and his chief of staff, H.R. Haldeman, in which Nixon asked who was the asshole that did that. It's very Nixon-like. Who's the asshole that did that?
Hey, nice. Nailed it.
I'm destroying my voice doing that Nixon impression like I always used to. However, Nixon subsequently ordered Haldeman to have the CIA block the FBI's investigation into the source of the funding for the burglary. So, yeah, of course he fucking knew what was going on. He's blocking the money trail. A few days later, Nixon's press secretary, Ron Ziegler, described the event as a third-rate burglary attempt. You can fucking say that again. on August the 29th, at a news conference, Nixon stated that Dean had conducted a thorough investigation of the incident when Dean had actually not conducted any investigations at all and had no idea that Nixon was even going to ask him about that. So you got a picture there?
Yeah, it's just the mugshots of the people involved and G.
Nice.
Gordon and his crew here.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at them. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at G. Gordon smiling there. Jesus, they do. Those guys do not look happy. They look fucking terrified.
Yeah, he looks cool after his arraignment, though.
He does. He looks fine. He looks unbothered.
It's like he's going for a smoke or a gun.
He does.
One of the two.
Yeah, probably both, actually. And also, yeah, it's fucking. Oh, where's the ceiling? Oh, all right, I'm outdoors. The Nixon statement went on. Sorry, I'm gonna try. I haven't done Nixon in 2 years. I can say categorically that not one person in the White House staff, not one of this administration presently employed, was involved in this very bizarre incident, which immediately makes everyone think that someone from the White House was definitely involved in this bizarre incident. Because
absolutely,
Nixon has a habit of making statements. He famously made one in the 1950s when he went on TV and he was like, I got funding from someone who turned out to be less than wonderful, and I shouldn't have done that. Now here's my dog, here's Checkers, and here's my wonderful wife. And because in the 50s no one was used to someone saying, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. They were so distracted by his wife and the dog and the thing, they were like, oh, he's fine, let him get away with it. It's everyone screws up once.
Obviously,
so, yeah, but from there it all falls apart, and this is where it gets it gets more bizarre, as Nixon would probably say. Martha Mitchell, the wife of Richard Nixon's Attorney General, or former Attorney General at this point, John N. Mitchell, is stopped from talking to the media by John's security detail. He specifically instructs them to shut her the fuck up. Her phone calls to random people, friends, family, keep mysteriously dropping out mid-sentence. And then she randomly disappears for a week. Just disappears off the face of the earth for a full week. No one can get hold of her. Worried family members get in touch with the press. And one journalist manages to track her down and finds her hidden away in the Westchester Country Club, covered in bruises. And scratches, disheveled, probably hasn't showered in a few days. Mitchell made several attempts to escape via the balcony, but was physically accosted, injured, and forcibly sedated by a psychiatrist. Following conviction for his role in the Watergate burglary in February 1975, McCord admitted that Mrs. Mitchell had been basically kidnapped and corroborated her reporting of the events, where she said she was being moved from hotel to hotel, kept away from the phone, and basically tried to scream all the time, so they had to gag her.
Basically kidnapped?
Basically kidnapped was his exact words.
Well, if she was gagged, and held
against her will.
Yeah, I think that's kidnapped.
Yeah, moved from location. She crossed county lines, so it's
that's trafficked.
Trafficked across county lines by security details working for a former attorney general. That's dodgy, purely because she wanted to say, yeah, that's a break-in and I know who did it. On June 19th, 1972, the press reported that one of the Watergate burglars was a Republican security aide that kicked off the money trail, which led directly back to the White House. So there's the first drip of the tap. Everyone's suspicious at this point, but they can't find the evidence. He is the first bit of evidence leading back. Then a couple of journalists called Woodward and Bernstein, who are working at their office, get a call from a man who identifies himself initially as Deep Throat. And then they're like, okay, yeah, nice pseudonym. What's your real fucking name? And he goes, yeah, my name's Mark Felt. I work for the CIA, and I'm going to tell you all about Watergate. And gives them all the insider information they need. Then the money trail stuff comes out. Then Martha Mitchell's story comes out. And basically at that point, the game is up. Liddy was sentenced to a 20-year prison term and was, serious fucking time. Deep Throat was my nickname in college. That's Toastazoid. That's a cracking joke. Liddy was sentenced to 20 years in prison and was ordered to pay $40,000 in fines. I'm not really sure who to. Maybe Mrs. Mitchell, hopefully. He began serving his sentence on January the 30th, 1973. He claimed that on arrival, he sang the Horst Wessel song, which was the Nazi party anthem, to which the guards probably responded, "What is it with you and this Nazi shit?"
Yeah. What the hell?
Anyone would think you're a South African billionaire. Jesus, dude. Come on. Can I name it after Odessa? It's a Nazi thing. Oh, and I'm just going to start whistling a Nazi shit. Like, come on.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Do you hate communists so much that you've gone the other way? Like, Jesus.
Apparently that's a thing. I didn't realize it, but it's huge.
Yeah, G. Gordon Liddy.
Huge than I thought.
Yeah, the least subtle Nazi in this like sphere. And again, it's a fucking Republican, but this is the 70s, so it's different. It's not different. Liddy was charged with 2 counts of contempt of Congress in March 74. He's already in prison at this point. On the same day that he and the 3 Cuban burglars were charged with Watergate-related crimes. Following a bench trial on May the 10th, 1974, Liddy was convicted of contempt for his refusal to answer questions of the Special Subcommittee of Intelligence of the House Armed Services Committee. That's a fucking mouthful, which was investigating the CIA's links to the break-in of the offices of Dr. Lewis Fielding, the psychiatrist of Dr. Ellsberg. So the first burglary they committed was uncovered, and the CIA tried to block the investigation. So, Liddy was found guilty and was handed a suspended jail sentence and probation. The judge stated that the sentence was lenient because Liddy was already sentenced to prison on the Watergate charges. Probably should have waited a few years for the next president to fuck that up before giving him such a lenient sentence. Liddy became one of the very few people in American history to be convicted of criminal contempt of Congress. Incredibly rare, apparently. Not so much these days.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Little bit more common now. On April the 12th, 1977, President Jimmy Carter commuted Liddy's sentence to 8 years. In the interest of equity and fairness, based on a comparison of Mr. Liddy's sentence with those of all others convicted in Watergate-related prosecutions, leaving the fine in effect. So he more than halved his sentence, proving once and for all that while he did live for a long time, and everyone was like, "Oh, little Jimmy Carter's still alive," Jimmy Carter was always a bit of a fucking idiot. Peanut farmer, peanut brain. No, I'm joking. That's too harsh. But yeah, he only died last year. This year,
he was
100,
wasn't it? A month ago or something.
Yeah, he was. He was 100 years old.
I don't pay enough attention.
No, I remember it being a big deal, and also for a good few years, because in his final years, Jimmy Carter did say some like stuff, and I was like, yeah, why aren't more people listening to this man? But he was. He did fuck up Watergate really badly by pardoning Nixon and commuting Liddy's sentence.
He messed up lots of things, but I mean, that's politicians. So, and it was December 29th, 2024. So close enough to this year.
Yeah. That's wow. Right before New Year's. Bloody hell. It did feel recent. That's why I was like, was it this year? Yeah. Carter's commutation made Liddy eligible for parole as of July the 9th, 1977. Liddy was released on September the 7th, 1977, after serving a total of 4.5 years of incarceration, less than a quarter of his original sentence. Just over half of his new sentence. So that's kind of crazy. In 1980, Liddy published an autobiography titled Will. Just Will.
Will?
Will. Thankfully,
right.
not Will to Power, because that would have been more Nazi shit. It sold more than 1 million copies and was made into a television film, hopefully not starring him, because he is boring as fuck. In it, he states that he was willing to kill during the Ellsberg break-in and that he once made plans with Hunt to kill journalist Jack Anderson based on a literal interpretation of a Nixon White House statement, "We need to get rid of this Anderson guy."
Oh,
Yeah. There's an unwritten rule in biography writing that you're not supposed to burn bridges or further useless feuds, but this guy is actually out here fucking opening himself up to new charges with this shit.
little bit.
I would have killed anybody. I don't care. Look at the mustache. In the early 80s, Liddy joined forces with former Niles, Illinois. Niles, Illinois? Must be a
That
place.
sounds right.
Yeah, policeman and co-owner of the protection group limited Thomas E. Ferrero Jr. to launch a private security and counter-surveillance firm called G. Gordon Liddy and Associates. It probably went everywhere wearing ski masks and expensive suits and mustaches.
Well, at least they were original with the name. It was
Yeah.
catchy, original.
And immediately has, like, oh my god, that fucking G. Gordon Liddy counts. Well, yeah, he did fuck it up though, so maybe not. Just don't let anyone watch a TV film while they're supposed to be running point on that,
Well, maybe it's like he learned it the hard way, so he knows what he's doing now.
Yeah, I won't make the same mistakes twice, unlike the guy who hired me. Liddy emerged to host his own talk radio show in 1992. Less than a year later, its popularity led to national syndication through Viacom's Westwood One network and through Radio America in 2003. I'm amazed by that because he's so fucking dull whenever he talks. He will talk openly about Watergate and, I would have killed. I'd have killed. But like he says it like, yeah, I'd have killed. I'd have killed someone. I just wanted to kill. He's so dull. My God. His radio show was syndicated in 160 markets and was on both Sirius satellite radio and XM satellite radio stations in the United States before those two merged, I guess, a few years after that.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it is. This boring ass motherfucker who's, breaking into, prison, breaking into offices and stuff, gets his own radio show. Yeah. None of that. It ran for 20 years. Liddy's show ended on July the 27th, 2012. He was also an occasional guest panelist for, if you had to guess, where would he be a guest panelist for?
Oh, well, I know. You're talking about the game show, though, right?
No. Think news.
News. Oh, somewhere on Fox News, probably?
Yeah.
I would guess. Yeah.
Him and Ollie North, the fucking patsy for the
course.
Iran-Contra bullshit. Just Fox News hiring themselves some disgraced political dog's bodies whenever they feel like it.
But the name recognition, though.
It
People don't know
is.
why they know the name, but they know the name, and it's awesome. I remember that name from school. They were in with the president. The president was cool. Nixon was, they wore his mask in Point Break. He was
That's
awesome.
It. Yeah, Nixon was cool because of the burglaries in that.
I'm just telling you, that's how our brains work.
Yeah, Iran-Contra. Was that a
Contra was an awesome video game. Up,
I
up, down,
love
down,
Contra.
left, right.
Fucking
that's what it was, right?
code.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's it. That's Ollie North.
then
He
we won
created the Contra video games. That's what he did. That's why he's on Fox News now. And what was this? G. Gordon Liddy? Something about water? Oh, was he in
Mario
Waterworld? That film. Oh, that
yeah,
was a
that's
cool
right.
film with
the
Kevin
plumbers.
Costner and G. Gordon Liddy. Yeah, the plumbers. He was he's Super Mario. That's
He
the
was
mustache.
the Mario Brothers in Waterworld with Kevin Costner, G. Gordon Liddy. We know
That's
now.
why I recognize him on Fox News. Good going, Fox News. In 1994, man, the fucking stream of consciousness we did
That's
there.
the bookers. That's how they.
Yeah.
That's how they get guests on Fox News. That's how they know who they are.
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, sure, whatever. In 1994 and 1995, Liddy repeatedly told listeners of his radio program to shoot federal law enforcement officers, giving instructions to aim for their heads.
Who did that?
G. Gordon Liddy. On
When?
his radio show in 1994 and 1995. He didn't just do it once. He did it over multiple years, telling people to kill. Just one of those things. I guess, maybe he was bored of ceilings at that point. In many of these statements, he referenced shooting in self-defense after the Oklahoma City bombing. When President Clinton denounced the many loud and angry voices in conservative talk radio, Liddy responded that the head is a difficult target to hit, and that he used pictures of President Hillary Clinton for the president and Hillary Clinton for target practice. What a classy guy this G. Gordon Liddy is. Holy shit. He was the Alex Jones before Alex Jones was insane. It's a bit much, Gordo. Man. Jesus, these are people, not a courtroom ceiling. Liddy was sued for defamation in 1999 by Ida Maxey Wells, a secretary whose desk at the DNC headquarters at the Watergate was said to have been targeted. Was said to have been a target of the last Watergate break-in in order to find evidence related to an alleged prostitution ring kept in Wells's desk. Wells's suit accused Liddy of defamation. Liddy denied the allegations, and the judge dismissed the suit, commenting that no reasonable jury could find in favor of the plaintiff. I don't know. To be honest, this is 99. This is after the OJ shit. And also it's G. Gordon Liddy. He's out there telling people to shoot Bill Clinton in the head. Kind of think it's plausible someone might believe that she was targeted and that she should win. So
maybe. I don't know. Not if Flavor Flav's there, though.
No, not if Flavor's on the jury. Giant clock around his fucking chest. Boy! In addition to his biography, Will, he wrote non-fiction books, and you're going to love these titles. When I Was a Kid, This Was a Free Country in 2002. I bet that's a thrilling read. That's a real page-turner. And Fight Back, Tackling Terrorism, Liddy Style. In 2006.
Got a picture of him tackling terrorism, Liddy style. I'll get that while you talk.
Yeah. I mean, he does look like the kind of guy that would tackle terrorism and then probably read it Mein Kampf while it's on the floor. He wrote that book in 2006 with his son, Commander James G. Liddy. So again, I'm sure that's Pulitzer Prize-winning levels of penmanship there. Sorry, there's a lot of plosives there on the microphone. I apologize for that. In 1994, the British documentary company Brian Lapping Associates sent producers Norma Percy and Paul Mitchell to interview many of the conspirators for its series titled Watergate, in which an unrepentant Liddy talked frankly about his role. He was filmed at home while sitting in front of a sizable collection of firearms and describing how he had been ready, if ordered, to go straight out and kill Jack Anderson, the Washington, D.C. columnist. Look at him. Action Liddy right there. This is Battle Liddy. This isn't George Gordon Liddy. This is Battle Liddy. Fucking hell. He looks nice and tan, doesn't he?
This is him doing his best Magnum PI, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I love that he's like in an action film, ready to fight terrorism or whatever it is. Still kept his wedding band on, though. So...
Well,
got to represent the love.
You're still... Oh.
That's a sexy shot right there.
Look at that, though. What's he holding?
Is that a Luger?
That is a Luger.
Yeah.
I wonder... No, that's a German Luger.
Yeah,
I bet you it's got a...
certain
fancy hand grip underneath his hand there.
Yeah. Wonder how many tattoos he's got. Also, gotta love the Lacoste shirt that he's wearing. That's very fashionable, my man. At one point he was filmed wielding, and you won't be surprised, as we've just seen a picture there of a bunch of guns. At one point he was filmed wielding one of his pistols during the before like aiming it at the TV camera, basically like the pictures we just saw. It was made clear, though, at the time that the gun collection was registered in his wife's name, because obviously he's ineligible for a license.
Why is that?
Why is
felony
that?
Thing, right?
Yeah, the burglary shit. She just really likes guns, so none of these are yours. No, they're all hers. Even the fucking elephant gun on the wall, yes, hers. definitely hand it to me, please. I want to have some fun. Liddy acted in several films, including, and prepare yourselves for a stream of B-list films here, mostly Street Asylum, Feds, Adventures in Spying. There he is. Yeah, he does look like a film star. He's in MacGyver. Yeah. He did much more famous TV stuff than the garbage films he was in. Adventures in Spying, Camp Cucamonga, and Rules of Engagement, which I've heard of. I've actually heard of that one. Not sure.
Rules of Engagement, the movie?
Yes.
Or the comedy one?
Well, it could have been.
That's Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
that's a different TV show. Yeah, he'd have been terrible in that. Do not date my daughter. I'll break into your house and steal your shit. He appeared on such television shows as The Highwayman, Airwolf, Fear Factor, Perry Mason, and MacGyver. It's pretty decent. I mean, that's like he appeared in more TV shows than Adam West.
And everybody just thought he was Tom Selleck.
Yeah, well, yeah. You just like 10% of Tom Selleck's ask. Sure, we'll hire this guy. Wait, you're nowhere near as tall or charismatic. Whatever.
Put these platforms on.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk.
Yeah, don't open your fucking mouth, dude. He had recurring roles in Miami Vice and Superforce, and guest starred in Al Franken's Late Line, which I have no idea what that is. On April 7th, 1986, he appeared at... This is my favorite part. He appeared at WrestleMania 2 as a guest judge for a boxing match. This is one of the worst things that has ever happened in wrestling. I have absolutely no heart. I've seen it more than once. I wish I hadn't. At WrestleMania 2, as a guest judge for a boxing match between Mr. T with Joe Frazier and the Haiti Kid in his corner. You know who Joe Frazier is. The Haiti Kid is a little person wrestler. So Vince McMahon's comedy bone is being tickled all over the place by this one. And Mr. T's opponent, Rowdy Roddy Piper, with Cowboy Bob Orton in his corner and Lou Duva as his official trainer. That's the most insane list of random names I'll ever read out loud. So there you go. Joe Frazier, Little Haiti. I don't know who the guy in the middle is there.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, but there's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff on the left there. He's standing specifically... what you won't see in this picture, Paul Orndorff's right arm there is starting to atrophy because he broke his neck while working a feud with Hulk Hogan. And he was making $10,000 a week in this feud, going up and down the country. They drew 60,000 people in Canada in one event. So he put off getting surgery for his neck because he was earning so much money, and he put it off too late, and it ended up causing irreparable nerve damage to his arm. So as time progressed, like throughout the 80s and 90s, Paul Orndorff's right arm shrank and shriveled away. It was really, really sad to see. So by like 1994, his right arm is significantly shorter, smaller than his left. It's really sad. In April 1987, he appeared as a celebrity partner for a week on the game show Super Password, playing against Betty White, who I hope tore him to fucking pieces. Because she had one of the best quick wits of any human being in history. God bless Betty White. What an amazing woman that
Betty White's
she was.
Awesome.
An incredible human being. Liddy died on March 30th, 2021, the age of 90, at his daughter's house in Fairfax County, Virginia. He'd been suffering from Parkinson's disease. He stayed with his wife for 53 years until she passed away about 12 years before he did. So, very loyal man as far as his married life goes. Just kind of also a bit insane. So that ends the honestly stupid as fuck life of George Gordon Battle Liddy, the worst burglar in history. I think it's fair to say. You found another picture of him looking like a psychopath.
No, that's just him hanging out with Betty White.
Betty White, yeah, and what looks like a very tired Tom Jones in the middle there.
Super Password.
Super Password. He looks fucking terrifying on the right there, stage left. He looks Really scary. And then you got Betty White looking as wholesome as ever, even though she had a foul mouth on her when she wanted to. But yeah, look at him.
And then he's selling drugs on Miami Vice.
That's right. Yeah, that was his recurring role. Awesome. He's a drug runner and pusher. And I guess, Ollie North is busy at that point. So, so there you go. That's G. Gordon Liddy, worst burglar in history, the mastermind behind Watergate, and kind of a fucking crazy dude as well in official Republican terms. Bit of a Nazi, liked to pop guns at his desk, was very reckless as both a lawman and as an attorney. Just a weird guy who's successfully failed upwards throughout his entire life, purely because he knew the right people, really. So what do you make of G. Gordon Liddy?
Well, I think he failed upwards because of the mustache, and I'm jealous that I'm super jealous.
It's a very employable mustache. You look at that face and you go, wait, so he shot off a gun inside a courtroom. Look at that mustache, though. That's very manly. We should hire that guy.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I instantly feel like he's in charge, man.
Yeah. He has an aura, as the kids would say. There's an aura about that dude. Until he opens his mouth or starts trying to do anything of any consequence. And then you realize, oh, he's a fucking idiot. Okay.
Yeah. He's a good extra.
He's a very good extra. And actually seems to be a decent actor, although probably in one of those things where you're like, oh, this guy doesn't look like a trained actor. Maybe he's one of those naturalistic actors. But no, he's just a bad actor.
Yeah.
Well,
the Nazi stuff is bad. We shouldn't have put him in charge of anything. Maybe not law enforcement.
No, or trials. Really?
Or breaking into shit.
Yeah. He's not good
at stuff.
He's not.
Not good at law enforcement or the other side.
And he's not. I've listened to his radio shows. He is not a good radio host, presenter. But name value, he developed a following because he said stupid, crazy shit like, you should go out and shoot law enforcement people in the face and go out and kill the Clintons and said shit like that. And he had a massively syndicated radio show for 20 years.
God, that
boils my balls.
Yes. Like, I guess, okay, I'm gonna hate and be jealous that his radio career was longer than mine and he was boring and said dumb stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that he said was way worse than stuff that got people that I worked with investigated when they were simply saying gas is expensive. I wouldn't be surprised if, things got lit on fire.
Yeah.
But that's not saying go light things on fire.
That's just saying
shoot people.
Yeah. It might happen. Instead of, why don't you go and shoot the president of the United States in the face, which he actually said on his talk show.
Oh my goodness. Yes, he did. And he said, here's some targets of the president and his wife.
Yes.
G. Gordon Liddy feller.
Crazy. And he did not get in any trouble for that. He kept his radio show until he decided to retire from it in 2012. I'd imagine at that point, 2012, he passes away in 2021, 9 years later. I'd imagine he's probably had a diagnosis of Parkinson's at that point. Maybe. And that's probably why he stepped back to retire, basically.
See, and here I am scared that somebody's going to clip what you said and make it sound like we said that.
Yeah. We did not say that.
No,
we're not
don't
saying
shoot anybody ever.
Don't shoot anybody ever, especially the president. You are going to probably get killed immediately, go to prison for a very long time, and the likelihood is you're going to miss because that guy just seems to just radiate a force around him that stops that from happening and regrow ears quickly. But so G. Gordon Liddy. Yeah, we're in trouble now.
He's a lizard people. That's how it happened.
That's it. It's the lizard ear. It just regrew. Yes. Where's fucking Where's what's his name? The guy's name. We covered him already.
Oh, anyway. Yes. Ike.
David Icke. Yeah, where's David Icke when you need him? He should have been out there. Well, lizard people, lizard person.
I'm going to use that as my proof, is that his ear grew back too fast, that he's a lizard person.
He's a reptilioid or whatever they're supposed to be called. So if you had to give a score to G. Gordon Liddy, what would you go with?
Oh, because of the name recognition and the fumbling And the mustache gives him extra points
Mm.
on the positive.
Yes.
Because I'm jealous and impressed.
It's very impressive.
I'm going to go 90.
Yeah, that's a fair score. I mean, other than we can say, oh, he got parts in films and, he was a decent actor and he had a good radio career and stuff. I feel like a lot of that is carried by the biography. Everyone was going to read that anyway. You do something big in the political sphere, doesn't matter who you are. George Soros could write a book, even though he's never been in politics. He could write a book tomorrow about something political, and 1 million copies would be sold immediately by people who would want to hate read it and positively read it. That's just the nature of politics and people who are in even relatively close to that sphere somehow. So him writing a biography and then saying a bunch of inflammatory shit in it was always going to lead to more stuff. And the likelihood is he knew what he was doing. He knew that he was going to get offers from radio and shit like that to appear on there. And he just very carefully and very smartly took that, ran with it, said a bunch of crazy shit on his talk shows, and kept that going for 20 years. So in that sense, he's smart. But if you have to rely on...
So I got to come up with the right, really bad idea.
Yeah.
And I'll be all right.
Basically, you've got to fucking fail on a colossal, disastrous level, write a book about it, and then you'll get offers left, right, and center from right-wing media who just want you to shill and say crazy shit on the air.
Well, I don't want to do that, but like I've been failing too small.
Yeah, you got to fail bigger.
Okay, I'll try
really, really implode with this shit. Really fuck up, but make sure that everyone's watching when you do.
If anybody's got ideas for my next failure,
I'm thinking child in a balloon, and then a bunch of news crews. Yes.
Can I do the balloon house from Up? But on a small scale, a tiny house balloon.
Tiny house balloon house from Up.
Yes.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Just porta potty. There you go. Just a bunch of balloons on a porta potty. That's just.
I'm getting in the porta potty at the riding it up on the crane.
Yes. There you go.
I don't know why I'm doing this now, but I'm gonna do it.
It'll get attention, and then write a book about it, and then you can go on the talk shows and tell people to try and shoot Hillary Clinton in the face, and you'll be fine.
I thought we discussed that you're not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to say that. Don't shoot Hillary Clinton anywhere.
Don't shoot anybody.
Don't shoot people. Bad thing, shooting people. But yeah, so that's what he did. And also with the acting thing, I feel like a lot of that is carried by his look. Because he looks ready. He was born to be on the screen, not necessarily talking or acting, but
holding just a cat and
be a silent heavy next to the guy with the cat.
Okay.
Or initially when Dave Bautista was like, "I'm going to Hollywood," I was like, okay, because I'd seen him in wrestling. He'd matured as a performer, and I was like, I'm sure he can do roles. And then I saw some of his early films. He did a film with one of the guys from Wu-Tang, and I saw that. I think it's some sort of kung fu film, and I was watching that. I was like, oh, Dave, this is not a good performance. Maybe you're the strong silent type, but actually, over the course of like a couple of films, he actually turned into a decent actor, a very good actor. A friend of mine worked with him on a film not too long ago. Worked on set. It's this
Dave
film
Bautista?
where Dave Bautista, yeah, nicest human being he's ever met. Just so back in college, we formed. I think I've told you about this. We formed a wrestling federation. I was part of it, and we trained and we filmed it and we edited it because we had to hand in weekly assignments. And we were just like, hey, we all love wrestling. Let's do that. And I was in it. This guy ends up working with Dave Bautista on a film. And it's a film where he's on a motorbike and he's on top of a football stadium and he jumps from one end of the stadium to the other on this bike. I can't remember the name of the film. Anyway, it's one of the B level movies that he's done in the last like 5 or 6 years or something. Anyway, my friend is talking to him and he was like, we filmed wrestling when we were up in college. And he was like, oh, you did you? On what? And he was like, oh, we got a bunch of VHSs. And he was like, why don't you bring him in? I'm going to watch him. So Dave Bautista asked my friend to bring in these VHS tapes of us wrestling. And he watched them and he'd forgotten how bad we were. And that we had a bunch of mattresses around and we were throwing ourselves around and concrete as well, and like actual steel folding chairs and shit, like it really quite dangerous shit.
Oh,
Fluorescent light tubes, really quite stupid stuff. Yeah. And he was watching it and he just kept turning to Batista going, I'm really sorry about this. This is really embarrassing. and Batista was like, honestly, I've seen worse. I've seen worse than this, because he came through OVW and saw a bunch of people that were not meant to be wrestlers. So Dave Batista's seen me wrestle, which is really embarrassing. Yeah, so that's funny. Anyway,
that's fun.
It is. We got completely off track there, but yeah, I feel like G. Gordon Liddy as an actor always going to be the strong silent type for me. If I'm the casting person, I was like, yes, there is an intimidating presence on screen. You are not talking. You might punch, get in a fight with the lead guy, maybe, or maybe just look intimidating, but you ain't talking, really.
Yeah.
So, but G. Gordon Liddy, solid 90 for him, thoroughly deserved for one of the main people behind, or probably the person behind, because he suggested it, Watergate, and also possibly kidnappings, other break-ins, shooting ceilings, Nazi shit.
Yeah.
Really weird, fucking all over the place guy. Not really much of a redemption arc for this guy, other than he didn't break into anyone's offices after he came out and made a good career for himself, made a lot of money.
Stayed married a long time.
Stayed married
That's
a
good.
long time. Good for him. Had 5 kids. So good father.
None of them seem to hate him.
Nope. None of them hate him. They're all God-fearing Republicans. One of them's an actual lawman now. One of them's like a state's attorney, I think. So yeah, I think so. I can't remember which one. John, I think it is John Liddy.
Okay.
And the other one was a commander, and a bunch of them just like, kind of the flag waving typical Republicans. Hopefully none of them as fascist as their father seems to have been, with the Odessa references and the fucking whistling the Nazi party anthem as he's going into prison. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
Why would you say that? Why would you admit to that? That's stupid. Anyway, so G. Gordon Liddy, solid 90. Really interesting character. I knew of him. I knew the name. I knew the Watergate shit. Didn't know any of the other peripheral stuff. I'd completely forgotten about WrestleMania 2, probably because like there's so much shit going on in that. Like Mr. T, Roddy Piper, Little Haiti, you got fucking Joe Frazier, you got a bunch of famous people at ringside. It's like, it's way too much to keep track of. But yeah, just a really interesting, fucking weird life, G. Gordon Liddy. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know how you can be so mid at law enforcement, and I don't know, and burglary and lawyering,
FBIing,
and acting.
Yeah,
I know I know how you can be, and I hope to be there someday as well, without the burglary or lawmanning.
I think I'll tell you one thing I think we may not have covered. Well, we definitely didn't cover, but we've maybe implied it. The one thing that G. Gordon Liddy seems to be good at is networking. And he had a lot of connections with a lot of people. He seems to be quite charming in person. I mean, he was married for 53 years. That's a man who can charm anything out of anyone, really. So I suspect that's probably his talent, is he gets to meet these people, politicians, J. Edgar Hoover, FBI people, CIA people, these people, and he's just very charming and personable. And as a result, they're like, let's give him something to do. As a result, he fucks it up or does something crazy or stupid or takes too much credit. And they're like, well, he's got a good mustache. He's quite a nice guy. And that's it. Just ignore the Nazi stuff. So, it's just one of those things. But we all know people like that. And, I've been guilty of that too. That I've probably charmed myself into like jobs, situations where like you feel like, oh wow, I've got this based on stuff I've said. Probably not too qualified to do it, but it happens. A lot of people do it, and that seems to be his talent. So
can't fault him for that.
Nope, can't fault someone for being good at networking. So G. Gordon Liddy, the man behind Watergate, who fucked up and thanks to Jimmy Carter, really didn't serve too much punishment for that, to be honest. Although 40 grand ain't no jump change, especially in the 1970s. That's our show for this week. I had a lot of fun writing this one. I was kind of circling a bunch of people, and then this leapt out at me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a little bit more lighthearted than some of the ones we've had recently, but also interesting. So yeah.
I thought you were going to go with the Joshua Halderman, Elon Musk's grandpa. I thought you were going to do.
Yes. Yeah, I sent you that thing, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Elon, listen, Elon. Listen, folks. A lot of people will say stuff. They'll say, and actually, Zlatow Zizek said it best recently. So Zlatow Zizek is an amazing writer. He's kind of insane. He's also he's very passionate when he talks, but he's got like a very prominent lisp. So it's not always, and he's like Slovakian, I think. So it's really difficult to understand him. But he made a good point, is that one of the reasons that people reject the label of Nazis and fascism is that it's lazy labeling. What you should be saying is liberal fascists. And he's like, it sounds ridiculous, but actually, if you look at what certain people in power are doing, they're not out and out Nazis in the way that we think of Nazis as, these kind of dribbling monsters from history. But actually, what he's saying is it's a very American kind of fascism. It's rooted in neoliberal policies, but it's evolved to the point of extremism. So the correct label needs to be applied to these people, because when you call them Nazis, people immediately think of fucking Indiana Jones punching them in the face and stuff like that. And it's not helpful always. But when you look into Elon Musk's family history, there are actual Nazis there. So really quite scary people that wanted all of North America to be a technocratic society ruled by one strong man. And
then when that didn't work, they went to South Africa and did the whole apartheid thing.
Yeah, literally ran to apartheid.
Yeah.
So really scary. So yeah, I was initially, that was one of the candidates I was thinking about, but it's a heavy time right now. I think I'm still in the mode where I'm like, maybe not going to cover anything too dark right now. I'd rather go with the lighter hearted stuff. So yeah, I went with Watergate. Because we're all over.
Because it's long enough we can laugh.
Yeah, we can laugh about that now. The fury around Watergate has slightly died down now. Nixon's been dead for a while and people still hate him, but you know, it's fine. We can look at it and laugh.
Yeah, it's a time we can look back when we held criminal politicians accountable and bad things happened and they like had like accountability for their actions and shit. Amazing. And it was like, yeah. And now it's different. So we have to look back at that with humor and laugh and hope that, happens, I think.
Isn't it strange, though? Because at the time, people were like, Nixon needs to be in prison. He needs to go to prison. And they were like, okay, we will settle for him being kicked out of politics forever and dying in obscurity as a miserable, embittered old man. They were like, that's our compromise, right? That's not even an option right now. They're like Steve Bannon having conversations about a third term for Trump with Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's literally handing him a copy of the Constitution, going, "No one person will serve more than 2 terms as president." And he was like, "There's no wiggle room there." And he was like, "Well, we're putting together a team." And he's like, "I don't care about your team. It's one sentence. There's no wiggle room."
Well, we'll just do what Putin did. I mean, don't say it like that.
Don't do it that way. Oops, giving the game away. So, yeah. G. Gordon Liddy, we've gotten off track again. G. Gordon Liddy, another solid 90, passed away at the age of 90, so it's nice and cyclical. That dictates that. So yeah, thank you all so much. This has been really wonderful, a really fun episode. I had a lot of fun reading it. If you enjoyed what you heard, like and subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, we're on YouTube. Things do that. And also, if you'd like to support us financially, Go to patreon.com/history's greatest idiots, where you will get access to behind the scenes footage from our lives, also historical stuff that we visit, scripts from the episodes that we do, as well as a welcome gift and an annual gift when you stay with us for a year or 2 years, and exclusive recordings for Patreon only paying members that like go on for hours. We talk about everything. It's so much fun. I love those recordings. And we're also on Instagram. If you go to @History's Greatest Idiots, you will see all of our amazing memes that do surprisingly well. I haven't posted any in a while, but that's because I talked last week to kind of go, okay, I'll do some client work, but I'm relaxing because I've been so fucking ill. And it worked. Started eating lovely food and I wasn't so sick. So hooray for relaxing.
You do look better and healthier and happier and more alive. It's good.
I am a little bit more alive. I'm down to 170 pounds though, so it's like it's getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, that's a good weight. Stop now, please. I'm gonna have to stop. You there?
I found what you lost. I'll send it back.
Thank you. Put it in the mail. What the hell is this? So yeah, that's our show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Until then, Derek, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you all again very soon. Take care now. Bye.